Okay, so today I just want to share my expertise into more depth than I normally do. So in this video we'll learn a lot. That's what I can promise you. You just have to watch until the end so that you can see you don't get to miss out every little thing that I'm about to share. So I wish you can just stick out so you understand everything that I'm doing. Okay, so this is cold water, and here is just flour and the orange food coloring for vegans. Okay, I would normally prefer, we are obviously different. Some people just like to use the machine. I normally prefer to use my hands and this wonderful table. We've got a relationship with this table. We come from from very far places, but anyway, that's what I prefer, because you can only imagine working in the restaurant industry for over 20 years. While you do this, it's almost like therapeutic. You're thinking about your orders for tomorrow, what you need to order. You're thinking about how to replace that person who's not coming tomorrow. There's just a lot. So for me, I like to do this because it helps me think. That's what I like. This is cake flour, and 1.3, 1.350, 1.4, somewhere there is equivalent to 730 ml of water. You need to figure out the quantities if you are using a different flour, because they all absorb water differently. And this is exactly how you give a recipe a soul, is to make it work for you. Okay guys, so I just want to say what I've been afraid of ever since I created this account, right? The account I created, I think, in 2012, but I've been really active 2 months now, if I'm not mistaken. But what I have been really afraid of is that if I were to talk too much, so that sometimes when you need to share certain information, you really need to talk so people can understand what you are saying and get value out of what you're doing and what you're saying. So what I've been afraid of is to share the depth information about my recipes, and not because I don't want to share, but because thinking that people might not watch the video throughout, and if I talk too much, people then don't get to watch. So now I say to myself, I'm going to share regardless if someone will watch or if someone is not going to watch. Whatever the outcome, I'm just going to share. So today's video is not really about making the fish. Yes, I'm sharing the recipe on how to make a fish, right? But the most important thing is the the process of how I get to the end result. So you really need to watch throughout so you get to understand. You might not be making a fish, you might be making something different, but the techniques, the process of what I'm doing might help you to do what you want to do on a different recipe. I'm not sure if I'm making sense. By the way, my name is Chef TJ, and please, if you're finding any value so far, hit that subscription button and the notification button so you don't get to miss out. Okay, by the way, you do not have to use food coloring at all. I'm using food coloring simply because this is something that is close to my heart. It's what my grandmother used to cook for me when I was very young, when I visited in rural areas. It wasn't vegan, but it was actual fish that was that color. So that's where I got the color from. But you don't really have to use any color. This is personal to me. But what I want to share is that the most important thing here is the broth. You just have to pay attention on how I cook my broth. So let's get on with that. This is how I cook. I will just heat up my pan. After heating up my pan, then pour in some oil. If my recipe requires 10 mils of oil, I don't put 10 mils of oil. I only put 5. Because why? The reason is because oil curdles. Because oil curdles is going to double the size. So that 5 mils of oil becomes 10 mils when it feels the heat. And again, I just want to mention, if you go to the supermarket and you buy olive oil instead of your regular sunflower oil, you are buying that oil because you are looking for those benefits from that oil, right? But when you come home and cook with it, if you're not skilled enough, or if you don't give the recipe a soul, you are more likely not to benefit. That difference, those few dollars that you paid, that makes a difference. You're going to lose them in your cooking process, because if you heat up the oil too much, you're gonna lose those nutrients. So you must make sure that you don't cook the oil, but you rather cook the oil. Let me repeat that. Don't cook the oil, but rather cook with the oil. I just want to show you here. Check my pot. There is no oil, nothing, zero. There is no oil. See? But I'm still cooking, but there is no oil at all. See? Caramelizing nicely, the flavor, the aroma is beautiful, the texture, everything, the color, everything I need is there. This is how you give a recipe a soul, right? And remember, without braising these things a little bit, they're not going to release the flavor. In order for you to get all the flavors you need, you have to do this. You must do this. And I just want to say, if you live in a double story and you're braising garlic, onion, and all those beautiful vegetables, and someone upstairs could not smell what you're cooking, then definitely you are doing something wrong. Remember, when you braise, you don't have to burn it, but if it's braised to a certain extent, it needs to release all those flavors, because that's exactly what you are looking for. The whole idea of cooking is to know your end result. And let me make an example here, right? The difference between an ocean or a swamp, right? A swamp is that the swamp have no waves, and it is not bubble. It has no waves. But ocean is got waves. In other words, it's bubbling, it is boiling, it is always fresh every time, right? So now a swamp is never that, because it doesn't have running water. That water is just still like that, right? There might be a frog inside. You might see something bubbling on top, bubbling. And because it is bubbling, it will have a smell. Whatever is in there, whether it's a frog, whether it's a fish, whatever is in there, you will be able to smell it, because why? It is simmering. That's exactly what I need you to think. So that's exactly what we are doing here. We want to make a broth, but in order to achieve the flavors you want, let it simmer. Let it simmer. I cannot stress enough how much you need to let it simmer. Remember, the example that I use, always have that in your mind if you are making a broth. As a matter of fact, I need you to remember this. Every time when you cook, it does not matter what you're cooking. There is always 4 things involved. There is always 4 things involved. It's your texture, it's your flavor, it's your color, it's your nutrients. I will repeat this because I really need you to remember. Every time you cook, there is always 4 things involved. It's your texture, it's your color, it's your flavor, it's your nutrients. So how you gonna cut, how you gonna cook, everything, every process, you need to always ask yourself, am I achieving those 4 things? For instance, here, I ask myself, what flavors do I want? Yes, I'm making a fish, but what kind of herbs will I use? Will I use dill because dill goes well with fish? The answer is no. This is a freshwater fish, and really is different from your salmon, your tuna and stuff. It's different. So no, I'm not going to use dill. Rather, let me use thyme. Thyme will work for me, but maybe it might not work for you, because it won't work for you. Then you change it to something else, and that's how you really give a recipe a soul. Okay, so what are the vegetables? Okay, capers always go well with fish. Your white wine, fantastic. All those things. What do I want to achieve? So when you follow recipe, don't follow recipe blindly. Ask yourself questions. By the way, if you're going to try this recipe, you really don't have to do the sweet potato thing. I do that because I'm an artist and I love to do that, and also my daughter enjoys when we do that. So it's more like a quality time with my daughter, but you really don't have to do that. But with all my recipes, you always see stuff like that. So here we just wanted to have to have like some kind of a fish mold that we created, and it actually came out very nice. And what we're gonna do, we're just gonna trim it, but it came out fantastic. And surprisingly, the flavor is actually beautiful, because when we opened it, we really loved the aroma that it gave us. So yeah, you don't have to go through that, but that's what we normally do. That's what we are known of. So here is what I need you to do. Watch this thing closely, the texture, right? Maybe you want just to achieve the texture, but you don't want the fish. You don't want the capers, the wine, the seaweed. You don't want to achieve that fish flavor thing, but you want something different for yourself, something that you will enjoy, your family will enjoy. Please comment down below and let me know what you'll be making, and maybe we can brainstorm together. I'll be able to help you there and there, and let me know if you've learned anything. And by the way, please subscribe and hit that notification button if you're finding any value in this video. Just this thing being close to my nose, the aroma is just something else. Now let us taste it. This is good. This is actually good beyond my expectations. I love it. I love it. Try this recipe. Tell me what you think. I know you're gonna love it. It's just... If you liked this recipe, you're definitely gonna love this one on the screen. Thank you so much for watching.